Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by to my channel here to check out the video on the Radtel RT-4D. We're going to go over the radio just a little bit and go through the CPS mostly. I'm going to try to do this video in one take, so just bear with me. So we'll start with the radio itself. This is the RT-4D directly from Radtel. It is able to do DMR, VHF, UHF, receive airband, amongst other things. It's a fairly feature-packed radio for a very reasonable price. As you can see here, it's $52 direct from their website. I know Amazon has it for a little bit less currently, and that is a Prime item. We'll go through some of the pictures here so you can see. What it does lack that some of the other radios have is this just has a non-color display. It's a little bit smaller, but still perfectly readable. As you can see, it comes with your standard battery, antenna. Something to note, it does have a Type-C charger that is right underneath the Kenwood style plug that lives over here. Here's kind of an overview of what the radio is actually capable of. Alright, so once you get your radio, first thing that you're going to need to do if you want to use it on DMR is you need to make sure that you have a DMR ID. You'll have to go to radioid.net to sign up for a radio ID, and that does take a little bit of time. Someone has to manually assign that to you, and then it gets emailed back, and you get your little ID. So you could search up somebody's ID here. Currently, I could just search up the state I'm in, which is Minnesota, and see a list of people in Minnesota with DMR IDs. And this is what they all generally will look like. Some are longer, some are shorter even. Correction, that's the talk group that they are on. These are their DMR IDs, which are otherwise referred to as radio IDs. More to come on that. You will need to download the CPS programming software for the RT-4D. That can be found direct from Radtel's website. If you just search Radtel CPS, you should be able to get to this screen from the home screen, software and firmware download. And then just scroll on down to RT-4D. And there it is right there. You'll see RT-4D DMR CPS. You're going to want to download the latest version of that, which would be currently in 2025, would be right here, 1.24 250530. That is going to be your most recent update. There's also firmware updates, which are going to be these ones here. And then these bold texted ones down here will be a chipset update. We will discuss those in another video. Once you download the CPS, it will look like this here. You'll see the download, you'll be able to open it up. The application itself does not require installation. You'll just be able to double click this, and then it should open up this here. This is the programming software for the RT-4D. This is blank, so upon initial startup, you'll see that your radio name is empty, personnel ID is empty. And you'll notice some of the nomenclature in here doesn't quite match up. It's not standard. Personnel ID for this radio, that is going to be your radio ID, what I talked about that you get from DMR ID, correction, radioid.net as where you're going to access that DMR ID. And that'll go in the personnel ID box here. Up in the radio name box, that can just be your call sign, your amateur radio call sign. Anything else on here does not need to be adjusted out of the box. Next, we'll move over to power on. You can see there's an option for a power on image. Personally, I don't think it's necessary to have one, especially being that the screen is so small and it is only black and white. So I would probably not display startup image, and I don't need a little ringtone. But a welcome message, you could put your name. My name's Alec. And then throw your call sign. Config 1 here, these are just going to be your general settings for your radio. You'll be able to see, change your brightness of your LCD, amongst a whole slew of other things here. And it just continues onto this second page. You have every key in this radio is able to be programmed into basically whatever you need it to be. So that's all customizable, which is quite nice. And here's where we get into actually programming the frequencies into your radio. It's not quite as user-friendly as some programming software. You're not able to tab through it very nicely, but it does work. So, just for example, 146.520, standard 2-meter calling frequency. I just clicked off of that, and it automatically defaults to digital here. And I haven't found out how to make it default analog. So every time you have to click in here and go to analog if it is an analog channel. You can change the transmit power. You can add it to your scan list or remove it. And then channel alias, that's just going to be your channel name. So I could put 2-meter call. And then you see as I click on each one of these, I get all sorts of options down here that I can change within the code plug. I can add CTCSS codes or DCS codes. Can change from wide to narrow bandwidth. There is some scramble like encryption options, which isn't something that you do on amateur radio bands, but they are in here. If you wanted to do a digital frequency, we'll just change this for the sake of the video to digital, and you'll see what kind of options we get. Here we get talk group list. We haven't set any up yet, but that would be your list of talk groups that you'll be able to select from while on that channel. So let's say this was your hotspot frequency. You would have a list of all your talk groups already set up so you can click through them. Channel ID here, that would be your radio ID, your DMR ID, but that's just per channel, and you don't need to change that for really any reason, because over here where it says ID select, just keep that at radio ID, and that'll just use your DMR ID across the board. But if you needed to change it for some reason, like one channel you had to use a different radio ID for whatever reason, I suppose you could do that. There is promiscuous mode enabled. You can turn that on, and that just allows reception of all the color codes and time slots on the digital side of things. Transmit priority, that will allow you to transmit all the time, regardless if the channel is busy or not. Only if the channel is available and things are quiet. And then this just is only if that your color code matches. And you'll see a spot for your color code and your DMR time slot. Onto your zones. You'll see here there is a lot of zones that you can name. There's 256 zones to be exact. So I could make a zone here that says 2 meter simplex. And in that zone, I'm going to add 2 meter call. Really easy. Contacts. These are your DMR contacts here. So if you wanted to add like Brandmeister contacts, I believe it's 91 is either North America or worldwide. I can't quite remember. We'll call it North America for right now. That's your North America Brandmeister talk group. So if I were to go back to the channel, and let's pretend for a minute this is my DMR hotspot, and I wanted to use North America Brandmeister talk group. Boom. Tied to this single channel, I could do that. Currently, I don't have a talk group list set up yet, so I can't do multiple on the same for the same channel here, but that is an option down the road. You'll see this is receive groups. Here is a commonly missed issue when you're on DMR and you aren't hearing anything. You need to have receive groups set up. Otherwise, you will not hear any of the traffic. You will see it flashing on your radio, but you won't audibly hear anything unless they're in a receive group. Here's just your encryption settings with encryption keys. They're all just default currently. We don't use them on the amateur radio side of things here in the US. And this is just FM radio, in case you want to listen to that. Your DTMF settings here. There are DTMF settings to inhibit the radio, however you want to set them up if you so choose. These are messages for like texting features over DMR between radios. You can have like pre-canned messages, I believe. This is just your automatic power off settings. It's a relatively simple programming software. The channel list itself is not quite as friendly as I would hope, but it's definitely serviceable. And you can see here you have 1,024 available channels. And don't get that confused, those are actual channels, not talk groups. Your talk groups are going to be your contacts here. Which you have 2,000 of. And there is in here an area where you can add all of your digital contacts so that you will see the names of the people as they are keying up on DMR. And that will come from a CSV file, commonly downloaded. You can download it from the radioid.net. Anytone I know has one. They're all over the internet. Just follow the instructions and you'll be all right there. On one of our next videos here, we'll do a bit of a deep dive into the actual radio itself and programming from the front screen. Anyways, feel free to comment any questions you may have, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks so much for sticking around, and have a nice day. 7-3s.